Lcbn television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Lydia. Today we're going to talk about drugs. We have a pastor, a doctor, who's going to share with us his personal experience of drug use, his addiction, his recovery, how he was miraculously recovered from it, what he's doing now to help other people, other families who are in that situation. He also went to prison, so he helps ex-offenders finding their feet back again to join society. So if you please help me welcome Dr. Lawrence. I know he's got a wonderful name, a Solution. So he's also Pastor Solution. I'm sure he'll enlighten us on his names.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, God bless you.
Thank you. I'm actually going to start with your name, Solution.
Okay.
How did that come up before you talk a bit about yourself? Because it's a really wonderful
Thank you.
appellage.
Yes, ma'am. The name Solution actually started when I was a drug dealer, a drug user. And abstinence from drugs is something very strong. In Nigeria we call it cold turkey. In Spain they say monkey. There are many names for it. Johnson. So if you had any of these symptoms and you saw me and didn't come after me for drugs, it means you didn't need drugs. So I was the solution to everybody who had everybody who had need for drugs.
Okay.
But
so
to the glory of God, I'm now a solution for positive things.
Okay, so that was actually like a street name. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
So when
it actually started as solution to people's problem.
Okay.
Solution to people's problem, but eventually it was abbreviated to Solution. And unfortunately, even though I was a solution to people's problem, my late grandmother called me in Igbo, which means the guy who knew how to dress prostitutes, but his own mother was walking about naked. So I was solution to people's problem, but people outside, but not to my family.
Okay, so you were solving, in one way, solving the
other people's problem.
Other people's problem. But not actually looking inward.
Inward, actually.
Inward.
Yeah, that's it.
But I think, would you say that was sort of a representation of your life before?
Oh, yes, that was my life before. But to the glory of God, it's the opposite.
It's
now.
Turned around. Okay.
So now I don't only look inwards, I also still look outwards.
Okay. So please, I sort of had to say that because everybody would see, and that would be what they were looking for, to find out the reasons. So I thought it's best to get that out of the way so they can focus on the conversation. So tell us a bit about you now.
Well, thank you very much. My name is Lawrence Orji. I'm from Nigeria, from Abia State, Arochukwu precisely. But I'm popularly known as Pastor Solution wherever I go. And I also believe that there is no problem without a solution. So I'm not one who want to cry with people and bring them down. Whatever it is, my children would tell you, in this family we don't attend pity parties. We when we identify a need, an issue, a problem, we just, look how we can uplift that person and not to cry. Even when they say someone is terminally ill, we still want to let them know that we know someone who terminates terminal diseases. In other words, we make people understand that there is a solution to any problem and every problem. And I say, any problem that does not have a solution was never a problem. If it was a problem, there must be a solution. So I move with that mindset. But if God could bring me out from drugs and prison cycle, then he can do anything. Because I loved drugs so much. I loved drugs, But the Bible tells us now that there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof is the way of death. So I was not only hooked on drugs, I also grabbed drugs. I didn't want to leave it. I didn't realize that there was a better life outside drugs.
Drugs. Okay. So tell us a bit about your journey, how you now became addicted.
Okay.
To drugs.
Let me start by saying I was born in the northern part of Nigeria. My father was one of those who went to work in the northern part of Nigeria, which was like overseas in Nigeria then.
So from the eastern part?
Yeah, from the eastern part to the north. So, and I had quite a good life, growing up, because we lived in the quarters where white people lived. My father worked with them. I had every privilege child growing up. So, but at the time in 1964, like some people still do here, they send their children to go and spend some years in Nigeria, study and all that. So my mother took myself and my immediate younger sister in 1964, took us back home to go and live in Nigeria. I mean, to go and live in the eastern part in my village, and go to school. So in 1964, she dropped us and left. And one of my uncles, who is late now, he so much loved me. He used to call me Lawman Brown, because my name, like I said, is Lawrence. He would call me Lawman Brown. So he was selling marijuana in his address. I didn't know what marijuana was. In 1964, I would just be about maximum 10, 11,
Okay.
then.
So she took you back in the hope of
and left us
secondary
there.
school and learning the culture.
No, primary school still.
Okay. Then, so the hope was to learn the culture.
To learn the culture, yeah. But when she left, this uncle who loved me so much, the way he wanted to show me that he loved me was, to put the marijuana in my mouth just to puff, To him, it was a demonstration of love, What some people still do to children today, thinking they're demonstrating love, not knowing that they're really introducing them to a vice that could destroy their future. So when I had that puff that day, I was quite a bright child in school. So when I got to school, everywhere looked hilly to me, very hilly. So I slept in the class, and the teacher, because he knew I was bright, he allowed me to go home. I don't even know how I managed to get home, and I slept all day. The next day I came to school, he was asking me what happened to me. I said I wasn't feeling well. I couldn't tell anybody what happened.
That your uncle had offered you.
Yeah, my uncle giving me drugs, So then in 1965, my mother came home with my dad, and by then I now started picking cigarette stubs. If I saw cigarette stub anywhere, I would take it and light it. So my mother didn't know my mother was observing. Somebody dropped a cigarette he had just finished smoking. I picked it up and went to a corner to smoke it. So immediately I tried to puff it. I didn't know my mother came behind me. She slapped it on my face, with it. So she now realized it was a risk, keep leaving us at home. So she took us back to the north. We didn't stay 1 year. Then we had to leave the north in 1966 during
because of the war.
Because of the war, the pogrom. So, but then I had started smoking. You see, I say to people when I go to speak in prisons and in drug homes and drug rehabs, I say, when you start, you have the belief that you can control drugs. but you don't know when drugs start controlling you.
Controlling you.
So the best thing is not to get close to it, you know. Anyway, so we came back to the East in 1966, 67, and I entered secondary school, and but I was already smoking, hiding it. So then in 1970, when I went back to school after the war, people also were smoking in the school, were in the what we call dormitory, they call boarding here.
So you were in boarding school, yes?
Yeah, I was in boarding school after the war. But not immediately after the war, because in the morning my mother would prepare a pap and bean cake. Yeah. So I would go and sell before I come back and dress for school.
So
that
this must have been a different life.
Oh yeah, in Aba, that's what.
Yes.
Yeah. Because we had lost everything in
and the war had caused you to.
The war had cost a lot. Yeah. So then in the afternoon, I would meet my mom in the market. We're living in Aba now, in Abia. So I would eat in her shop. She was selling clothes. Then I would use a pole with nails to go and sell secondhand clothing. Anywhere it was dark, I would get home, because I would change my school uniform in her shop. So she will always bring clothes to change for me at the market. Then when I got home in the night, made an account to have what I had sold, I will now go to the crossroads. In Aba, they had crossroads. Go to Aba, in my corner, I would sell bread, cooked, boiled eggs, and kerosene. I just helped, make up in any way I could. And so then gradually I left school in 1973. We were the first set that did a class 5 for 6 months, because prior to that, you did it for 1 year, and we're taking an exam in Nigeria in November, December. But we started the May, June in 1973. So practically we did class 5 for 6 months. Then when I finished that, I thought...
This is to get your GCSEs.
Yes, of course. Yeah, exactly.
So your year was
what you call it,
into 6 months.
Into 6 months, instead of a year.
You know, but in between that time, you had been helping your
my
family
mom,
with
yes,
extra income.
Yeah.
You would come from school.
Absolutely.
You would change into the uniform in the shop, go around,
and sell anything, direct the whole of Aba.
Selling breakfast.
Yes, after selling breakfast, I sell clothes.
Then in the evening, you will sell bread and sell
kerosene and boiled egg. Yeah, and boiled egg
for life. Okay, so really a big life for a teenager.
Yeah. So in 1973, when I now finished, I went to work with an insurance company called Nigerian Amicable Assurance Company. Then it was not an employment. We would go to the licensing office just to look for people who wanted to license or insure their vehicles. And of course, I was quite small in size, and when I saw that wasn't giving me anything, I tried to teach in a primary school. I didn't have the satisfaction. Then I saw this advert about police, you could join the police force. So I went for selection, and I was refused because they said my chest was not up to 34 inches. My qualification was okay in terms of academics. My height was fine, but the chest wasn't. So I'll come back at night and be carrying blocks, trying to expand
build your chest.
My chest. So eventually, in 1974, I was selected, to do the training. And even the lady who supervised the training, one late, she was a commissioner of police, but she's late now. Mrs. Ebuka, very nice woman. So she told me that I would run away because I was small. Because when you start the training, the first 1 week, people abandon their things in the police college and run away. It was tedious. So, but that time we used to train for 12 months. So the first month, and if you didn't come, if anybody did not take first from first month to 12 months, that year there was no best baton of honor. So, but I took first from first month to the 12th month. And it's not only in academics. You will come first in drills, that is march in parade. You will come first in range, that is the shooting. You will come first in the classwork. So that year, I was the best baton. So when you are the best baton, the baton of honor, automatically you will not be a corporal or a sergeant. Your first promotion will be inspector. So I became an inspector without being a corporal or a sergeant. So life was like everybody thought that at a certain time I was going to become the Inspector General of Police, and I thought so too, because I had a very bright, career. But when in fact, eventually some commissioners wanted me to be their orderly, So but when I got to Lagos, the first posting I got was to a police station where Muslim sects were fighting and a woman was killed. So I was sent there at the scene to go and guard. That was my first experience as a police officer, was to guard a corpse. Imagine how young I was, and I was afraid. And the other was that some people, those who killed her, were trying to come and carry the corpse and throw in the lagoon.
And hide,
and hide and throw to dispose. So, and the other was anybody who touched it and removed it, I was in trouble. So I cocked my gun. From morning till night, they are supposed to come and do the autopsy. We didn't see anybody from morning. I was put there until evening. I was there, no food, nothing. You couldn't leave the place. So you can imagine how I felt. I was already angry with the job. Was angry. Something I joined with excitement. Anyway, when eventually they came and did that, the police vehicle, the forensic people, they now came and did it. I thought it was over. They said I should now wait, that a vehicle will come and remove the corpse to the mortuary. It took a whole day. Anyway, when they came, I went back. I was already considering leaving the police until I was called to be orderly to the commissioner of police then, who was Alaji Gambo, who was one of his orderlies. Now, I also, after some time, I was sent back to Okesuna police station where I was, and I wanted to leave the police force because I had gotten a job in the bank. I liked dressing in suit and all that. So when I told my DPO then, Alaji Kasali, I said I wanted to leave. He said, "Are you okay? If I was an inspector at your age, I would be the IG of police by now. Don't you know the prospects you have in the police? Why do you want to leave?" I told him, I said I got an admission to do part-time studies in Yaba College of Technology. So he now placed me on permanent night. So I was on permanent night, very light job. What my assignment? Go to commissioner's house to check that the policemen were doing their job. Go to IG's house, go to just visiting around, it was called. Then after, I'll go home and sleep. Well, drop my gun, go to a club. That's how of course, I was already a fella, Kuti's very good friend. We're very close. So I was always in the shrine. In the morning, I'll go and drop the gun.
Did you continue taking marijuana all this time?
Oh, yes, I'm still coming to that.
So it was now part of your life?
Yeah, it was part of my life. I already said fella was my friend. Those are the kind of friends I loved. So near Okesuna police station where we were, people were selling marijuana. So we'll go there and smoke. One Okon was selling. So one day, some policemen went and arrested him with the intention of maybe getting some money off him. So, but he ran away because one person had gone there to smoke and he asked for money. So the guy got angry that he asked him for money and arranged with some people to go and arrest him. So when they busted, he ran away. Some people were taken, and by the time he settled them, they had left. So it was entered in the station diary that a raid was conducted, something was gotten, and he left. So they now sent this thing to the forensic, because you can't cancel anything in the station diary. It's not allowed. So Okesuna now sent grass from outside the station, put in an envelope and sent to Oshodi, where we had it's a forensic something.
Okay, so they replaced the marijuana that was taken.
But so and everybody was okay.
With normal grass.
But when this case was brought to court, Okon was happy that nothing, because he knew it was grass that was put. And the result came. Also, the people, when they opened it, the policemen there, they say, imagine Okesuna sending ordinary grass. They've collected money. So they didn't even test it, they just wrote positive. So at the court, Oko came to court with his lawyer, knowing that it would be negative. Only for the result to say positive. Oko shouted and said what happened in Okesuna. So that was how all the people in Okesuna were disbanded.
Were disbanded. The entire police station.
So they brought new people and transferred. So I was sent to Lion Buildings. By then, Lagos was still the capital of Lagos State, not Ikeja. It was of Lagos State and capital of Nigeria. We didn't have Abuja then. So that's how we all were disbanded until one day it happened that Fela's house was to be burnt after first attack. During the first attack, being the youngest officer, I was one of those who gathered the heads of states. And in fact, the honor I was given was to open the door of the bus that brought all the heads of states to the stadium, including our president then, Obasanjo, Andrew Young, Jimmy Carter, all of them, all the bus that brought them. First like I opened it. So when I got to my uncle's children, we say, Uncle, we saw you at the stadium, we saw you on TV. You know, but what am I saying? You know, even the Bible said, while men slept. While men slept. So I'm just saying all these things. I had a good life. In fact, in 1976, I had bought a car. You know, a car then was like, I bought it 1,300 naira. In 1978, I bought a Mercedes, about 3,000 naira. You know, so life was sweet. Life was sweet. But all of a sudden, I had become, I had joined the bank. As I was in the bank,
left the police and then
I had not left. No, I told my DPO that I was doing part-time studies. So because he loved me, he wanted me to prosper. So I was on permanent night. But in the morning, I would go and work in the bank. In the night, I would come and work as a policeman. So one day I was at the counter. A friend of mine in Keruam, he came. He was on the queue. I saw him, but he just came. He said, Inspector Orji, when did you leave the police force? I knew. Me who was hiding. I told him I said I left already, but I had not left. So I didn't go back again to collect my salary. But every month,
the police station.
No, I didn't go. At Lion Buildings, that's where they pay. So you go and sign, and it's not like now they pay into your account. I didn't go back. But every month, my friends will tell me that they saw my name on the
payroll.
Yes, on the payroll. So apparently somebody was collecting, but not me. You know. So that was it. Life was until somebody introduced me to some other ways of making money, since I was not getting two salaries anymore. So began to do other things, and I lost my job in the bank. When I lost my job in the bank, I joined the insurance company. Obviously, money was not coming as I used to have. That was how I started selling drugs. Not well. Now I know that marijuana is a drug, but when I was a drug addict, for me, marijuana was not
a drug.
Well, was not a drug. So that's how I now started transporting in drugs. So the high life I had without being prepared for it, eventually. See, when I had a Mercedes and a Peugeot, because I was not prepared, and I had lost my job in the bank, in order to maintain that false
standard of living.
So I will use my Peugeot in the night to do kabu, what we call kabu, you know, cabin.
Like mini cab.
Then I will use
illegal mini cab.
Yeah, illegal mini cab. But of course, in Nigeria, they were in Lagos, they were quite popular. Then just to use the money I got from there to maintain the Mercedes and live a false life. A time came that I didn't have any house where I was living. So the car became my home. My clothes would be at the dry cleaners. I would go there, change clothes, take the one they washed, change, and I was sleeping in the car. So that's why I said it was a false life I was living. So I would live in that false life until, of course, they said every day for the thief, one day for the owner. So that's how eventually I left Nigeria for studies, went to India. But because I was already doing drugs, and one of the reasons I couldn't leave Nigeria in time was because I was wondering how will I get a drug, like especially marijuana. So when we got to,
you were addicted.
I was already addicted,
Did you
but
know?
you will not know where.
Did you
You
know
wouldn't
that
know.
it's addiction?
You wouldn't know it's addiction in as much as you could afford it. You begin to notice it's addiction when you cannot afford it.
Okay. Because I think that's important, because a lot of times you hear people when they take marijuana because they believe it's like a social drug, they believe it's a relaxant, they believe that they can stop it as and when they like. Especially, I know some people who only smoke at the weekends. They'll say, "Oh, but I only smoke at the weekends. I only smoke 1 or 2 joints. I only smoke once, every couple of weeks." But I think people systematically become addicts, which is what happened to you.
I always tell people there's a thin line between when you can control drugs and when drugs start controlling you. When you cannot stay without having it, whether you can afford it or you can't afford it, you're already addicted.
But I think what you said is important, because you said you don't know you're an addict until when you can't afford it.
You can't afford it.
Yeah,
then you realize that you can do anything. Exactly.
Yes, it becomes priority. Because before, when you could afford it, it didn't feel like it was priority. But when you can't, then it changes.
In fact, it is now I realize I was already addicted when I was in the police college, because there's one guy we used to buy marijuana from the police college. We will go. That place is called Tinkan in Enugu. I understood later that the guy was shot in armed robbery, but we used to go to his place and smoke. His name was Pascal. You discover that you will now smoke on credit. You didn't have money, but because you're a police trainee, he will give you. He knows you will come again. Then when you are paid the allowance, we'll go and pay.
You come back and
pay him. So now when we're going,
but I think that also happens without police. I think drug dealers do give some of their customers.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, and then they come after them.
I smoked with my car even, but I'm going there. So, but I'm just saying this: when we're going to Lagos in train, the train had to stay for 3 days in Kafanchan because they said the train was derailed in front. And it's not like now, and I believe that they could have resolved it within hours. So we were at the particular spot for 3 days. So when the marijuana we had on us finished in Kafanchan, we had to ask questions until we got to where they sold it. So what I want to point out, when you cannot do without it and you can take any risk to find it, that's already addiction.
That's a sign that you are.
So yeah, that's a sign. So we had to when we now found where it was sold in Kafanchan, we were going there. It's not very close to the station. One day, the day the derailment was cleared around Kaduna area, as we were coming back, the train was about leaving us. And all our things, myself and one Sunday, Eric Sunday from River State, my good friend, and another person, we went to get marijuana. We nearly missed that train. After 3 days, that is another sign of addiction. When you can take some unnecessary risks to get
some,
to get it,
that's
a sign of addiction. Anyway, so by the time
now you've moved to India.
No, I'm still on my way to India. We stopped at Addis Ababa, and the marijuana I had finished. So we now, at the Ethiopia Hotel in Addis Ababa, you will see all these fine people who will come down. Whenever you come down, they were hanging around students from University of Ethiopia and all that. So I told one of them I needed marijuana. He took me somewhere. I took a big risk. I had never been to Ethiopia before. I followed them. He thought that because I used to dash them money and all that, they could have killed me. So he took me to one place, just bought this tea, Lipton tea, wrapped it in something, collected some good dollars from me, and said, don't open it, because policemen we strolled together, went to my hotel. I said, let me go upstairs and smoke. I went and discovered it was just ordinary Lipton tea. By the time I came down, the guy was gone. You know, I must have parted with about $20 or $30.
Which is it's a lot of money now, but
yeah, of course.
Then it was even a bigger sum of money.
You begin to see signs that you're already addicted.
Yeah.
So why I'm just saying
Going
this,
up.
if anybody is in that state now and still think they can control it, it's a lie. This is a sign that the person is already addicted. But did I stop? Anyway, I got to India, and of course, before you knew it, I was already happening in the drug place, to the point that film actors, actresses, were coming to my house where I was selling drugs. Eventually, years were going. Before you know it, the door to prison also opened to me, because I was introduced to credit card business. I was arrested in New Delhi, and it was exam period. So in as much, I said to people, there is no way you can put on your white suit, go and sit in the marketplace with someone who sells palm oil, and think that you can get up without getting stained. It's not possible. The Bible said, do not be deceived. Evil communication corrupts good manners. So I met friends who introduced me to credit card, and of course money was coming, but on one day I was arrested. Because the owner of the shop realized
you were going to school
in India.
You now were, apart from using the drugs, you were now drug dealing.
Yes, I was not. Of course, I started in Nigeria.
Yes, so you now added a new dimension.
Credit card,
which was the credit card fraud. So you are now arrested in India.
I was arrested and taken to prison. The people who introduced me, who had collected, we had a hotel where we stayed. So everything we bought with the credit card, they already had a contact who will buy it off them. It was a business. The credit card will be bought from the rightful owner. It's not like today, the days of computerized things. By the time it will result on the lost card list, you who bought it from them will have recovered their money and tripled it. But the insurance will pay them back because they already reported it lost. So they will gain the money you paid them cash to have the credit card, and still they wouldn't lose anything, no matter how much you have spent off the card. So I paid the price, and from there the decline started.
So you now went to prison in India?
Yeah, I went to prison.
I think also,
I was locked up, and this is up to a week, because I met some Afghanistan guys in the prison who introduced me to very sharp guy called Rajiv Dawa, a popular lawyer. So, do you have money? Once you can pay. So he followed me to Chandigarh, where I used to live. I brought out things that we could sell, and all he needed was his money. Anyway, but once that had happened, you had missed some exams anyway, because this was exam period, missed some exam, didn't want to go back and start from the beginning again. Of course, it became a free fall. So
I
now,
think what also is important to point out is that you've called several countries, Afghanistan, India, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Pakistan. You'll find, I think it's a worldwide problem. That's what I want.
There's no country I've been to. There's no country I've been to that I didn't find drugs.
Yes.
There's no country.
I think what is important, that how easy it is.
It is very easy
to find.
It's very easy.
There's no country. That for people to feel, some people feel, if I'm in a hotel, it will be difficult. If I'm with the poor people, it will be difficult. If I'm with the middle class people, it would be difficult. But I think your story transcends the poor. It transcends the middle class. And then you were talking about actors and actresses.
There was a time
into the affluent members of society.
There was a time I had a permanent suite in Doba Hotel. Whether I was in Nigeria or not, it was paid for. And it was just to where we used to gather and use
Yeah.
drugs. So both the rich and drug is something that you don't need to be rich to be
To be a
a
drug
drug user.
addict.
You don't need to be poor to be a drug addict. It's a spirit.
And I think
It's a
what is
spirit.
particularly maybe we can point out about yours is that you were still functioning. You know, people
Yeah.
imagine that a
Or
drug addict
rather,
is on the
I thought,
streets, I
yeah,
can't do
no.
anything. But you were going to work, you were going to school,
Yes.
you were
I
still
was
responsible, you
functioning,
were still paying bills
but
and everything. But so you
without
were functioning.
a focus. Yeah, you could be
Yes,
functioning without
with
having
that.
a focus.
No, I think
Um,
what I'm saying that why I brought that out is because people can say, oh, he can't be addicted because he goes to work.
yeah,
You
no,
know, he
people
can't be
get addicted.
addicted
That's
because
why that's why I'm saying
they are
you
running
can
their
be.
family. That's what I'm saying makes sense. They
I
can't be
yes, sure.
addicted. So that's why I used that word functioning. I didn't mean like
Functioning
you were yourself,
recently.
but you are able to do basic things that
I'll
other
tell you
people do.
some the experience I had in Nigeria. One
Mm-hmm.
time, I brought drugs to Nigeria, and I was introduced to a guy. I wouldn't want to mention his name because a very good family. Every family is good, but a big boy. So I was told he came from America with 23 beautiful cars, and he smoked with 22. And of course, for those who know, there was a time something involved himself and his friend with an AIG of police several years ago. So it was my first. So I was introduced. Some people brought him to me, and he had only one car left, a Mercedes 200. So he gave me the car and the documents and said, please, could I just give him 10 grams of coke? That he will give me the money. You know, people were saying to me, "Don't you know him?" I said, "I don't know him." You've never heard his name. I said, "Has he had my name?" You know, so what are you talking about? Anyway, those people who I gave him 10 grams, I took the documents. He left. As they were going down the steps, this happened in Ikeja on Unity Road. I called him. I said, "Excuse me, come back." He came. I gave him the documents, the car key. He thought I wanted to collect the drugs. I said, no. I said, this was how I lost my Mercedes. This was exactly how I looked. By then, I didn't know he had 23 cars, and that was only one left.
The only
I said,
one left.
yeah, I said, when you get the money, bring it. That time, how much was it? 200 naira was 1 gram. So we're talking about 2,000 naira. So the guy was shocked when he got to airport hotel where they lodged with his friend. He said to his friend, who later became a senator, so a big boy too. He said to his friend, he said, I've never met a guy like this before. So the next day, they came looking for me. And they came to look for me at the shrine because now shrine was where I used to stay. So I was at the shrine in Ikeja. Some people called me, said, some people are looking for you outside. I came, said, enter the car. I entered. So the guy driving said, I heard you did this last night. He said, that's my friend. He said, I didn't know a guy like you still exists, you know. But what am I saying? I was kind to the point that I will hear that I met a couple that was being used like slaves in Lagos. And when I heard that they came from Spain, the boy and the girl, they came from Spain, they lived in Spain, they came here and their money finished. I called the boy one day. I said, is it true that you came from Spain? You live in Spain here? I said, I used to come to Spain. I took him, gave him 100 grams of heroin. I risked my life to bring. I said, go and sell it, please. Travel with your girlfriend back. He said, I said, go and sell it. You're not selling it for me, just sell it. And he looked at me. He sold this, and they were some time later. I was at the airport in Lagos. I saw this guy on the Iberia queue. I was on the Ethiopian airline queue. He looked at me and removed his eye. So I told my friend who was with me, I said, I'm coming. I crossed over to the line. I touched him. I said, excuse me, do you know me? He said, yes. I said, so am I? He said, your solution. I said, you recognize me? I said, are you also person I gave 100 grand sometime I met? He said, yes. And he came to, in his head, he was saying, this stupid guy, how dare you? Something you risked your life to bring. What type of stupid kindness is that? I was kind to a fault,
Sure.
even with drugs.
But so at this point, you were selling all types of drugs. So you had progressed now from
Anything.
marijuana.
I wouldn't say I was selling. I would bring to Nigeria and smoke it all and dash some and go back.
Ah, okay. So you were bringing it for your own consumption.
For my own, yes. No matter what quantity I brought, I would smoke it up.
You had moved from just smoking marijuana. You had progressed hard drugs.
No, that by this
drugs.
time I was not using marijuana again, because it was non-crack, heroin, cocaine, sniffing, and all, but no, not marijuana. But what I want to say is that even at that, like you said, I was still functioning. I always knew I was not where I was supposed to be. I knew it. I went to preach in a drug place called Akala in Mushin, in Lagos. It's Akala, with my friend Pastor Keji, who used to play for Fela. He was a guitarist and a pianist. So when we got there, he said to the people smoking, he said, hey, you people remember I told you that somebody introduced me to this? He said, this was my master who introduced me to hard drugs, this and that. He said, but today, he's a pastor in London. So I began to minister to them. While I was ministering, one guy was having his crack on top of his bottle and his pipe ready to smoke. But as they were listening to me, the guy began to cry. Because I told them how I smoked with my Mercedes. I told them how I lost everything. I told them, the guy cried. He said, Pastor, you are describing me. I said, how? He said, he too used to work in a bank. He lost his job in a bank. He lost his car. He smoked with his car. The wife left him and took away their child. So he didn't have a home again. He was sleeping in a joint. So I led him to Christ that day. I don't know where he is now, but I believe that seed germinated. Because by the time I went back to that place, I asked, they never saw him in that place again, yet he had slept there for over two years. So, mine was so bad that I was smoking in Mushi one day. When someone entered and called me, Papa Solution, one small boy there said, Nah, you be Solution. I said, yes. He said, I say you don't smoke two factories with your mouth. He said, if you be my brother, I no go talk to you again. I said, what did I do? He said, everywhere you go, they say you don't, the drug with Solution don't smoke, can build two factories.
So your addiction was now a reference point.
Yeah, there was a time in Nigeria when I was living in India. My friends brought newspaper from Nigeria and said to me, don't go to Nigeria. I said, why? He said, wherever the journalists went to in Lagos and interviewed people, Ojuno, Oluwole, Owori, anywhere. How did you get into drugs?
These are popular
drug places spots in Lagos.
Yes, that is
everybody that was interviewed, how did you go into hard drugs? They say one policeman, we call him inspector, or some say Olokpa, a name na Solution. They live for India. Now, that's just free. So, but what am I saying to those who are listening? That God gave me the grace to be alive today. When I ask of many people who have given people drugs, they sell and pay rent so that you and your family can eat. But my parents didn't have anything. My younger ones were suffering. But what am I saying? Most of those people, some were pilots, some had better, majority of them are dead. Not everybody survived to share their testimony. Don't say I will stop next year. There was a time I used to do New Year resolution. On 31st of December, I will smoke and say, my friends, once it's 12 midnight, please let me know. 12 midnight, they will tell me all the crack I cooked will be there. I wash my face and say, I'm not smoking again. 1st January will pass, 2nd will pass, 3rd, by 4th, I start to hide and smoke. By 5th or 6th, something will say to me, why are you hiding? After all, it's your money. And I go back again and say, so don't do New Year resolution. Start now to know that this thing is a killer, it's a destroyer. I'm 68. My first child is 12 years. that is one of the prices to pay. You are not conscious of when time is going. You are not conscious, and there is no day that goes that will come back. I thank God that He has given me a wonderful wife.
Your healing?
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about your wife and your children.
Oh yeah. I got my healing on the 21st of March 2001 in a prison cell. This time I was now living in Italy. And as I was living in Italy, of course, I was arrested with drugs in transit. Whatever I say, you can find in details in my Facebook from prison to Pulpit. Anyway, so I was in that prison cell. I came out. You see, when I used to leave prison, the warders would say solution till when, because they knew I'll come back. Oh, prison was my home. I used to visit outside when I was allowed. So there's a solution till when? Solution till when? So there was a day in 2001.
Was it the addiction that took you back all the time?
No, I was always in possession of drugs because I was addicted, so I always had drugs. So because I knew
a cycle, because it looks like you were going. In most countries, you had been to prison or at least been arrested.
Everywhere. Because I always had drugs. And there is no way you can have a firewood that has arms without a lizard paying visit. I thought I was mad, but now in my latest book that will soon come out, the one I told you about, Amazon, is titled Grace of God, or Positioned by Grace. So all this while I thought I was smart, I was beating custom and immigration. I thought I was smart. No, if it was smartness, I would maybe I would have been caught before I was caught. But
so you're
it was just God's grace.
In Italy, and
so I was in prison on that day. So when I came out on a particular date, how we used to welcome ourselves when we came out from prison, your friends would take you to a joint, to go and smoke. Excuse me. So, just 1 second. They took me to go and smoke. That's how, so that you can recover a little bit of what you didn't smoke while in prison. So because each time I was armed, I would have drugs in my stomach, drug in my anus, because I knew I could be arrested anytime. So at least let me have something to smoke for 2 weeks in prison before. So I was always, and when I was in Italy, my friends will not accept, a lift from me. And they will not give me a lift, even if it was raining. My friends I used to do drug with, because they will say, Baba Solution, you understand, now, man away. Because I was an exhibit.
So anytime the police saw you,
wherever the police saw me, they will search the
car. They will search the car.
They will search the car. So you could be with me and end up in prison. So even my friends who will bring drugs for me, they will not allow me to enter their car, and they will not enter my own car. They say, Baba Solu, say you be exhibit now. So I was an exhibit. Wherever police saw me, they will search the place. It was that bad. Anyway, so this day I came out from prison. As we were smoking, my friends took me to go and smoke. We're smoking, police bust that place and were arrested. So I brought out my release paper and said to them, I just came out this morning by 10. Please let me sleep outside one night now. They refused. They knew me, I knew them, but they refused. I thought they were joking.
Lcbn television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview Channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.